welcome to Walk in Purpose. This is episode 21. Episode 21. For anyone that's new, wants to know what we're all about, Walk in Purpose and Uplift Kings are about uplifting kings all over the world, about men around the world telling the stories, about mental health, about growth. And sometimes we have a good time, we laugh, we joke. Sometimes we have open discussions pretty much. Together, we are uplifting all kings all over the world. I'm here with an amazing guest. He has an amazing podcast. Check this man out. Zach, feel free to introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in. Super excited to be sitting here talking to Craig today. I'm with the Into the Dark Blue podcast and community organization for men's mental wellness. We got some good stuff going on, and a lot of it has to do with making connections with people like you, Craig, who are just really making a positive impact in the men's mental wellness atmosphere. And so it's pretty exciting. I've got basically a tour that I'm about to go on.
Okay.
And we're going on a tour around the country, and we're basically launching a network of men's groups at independent breweries around the country. So guys can have a space to go to and talk about the things that they have going on in their life. Talk about the things they have going on in their lives and learn to work through their emotions that we're not really given the tools to deal with when we're younger, you know? Just trying to create a safe space so we can share beer and have conversation about the things that are going on in our lives. So
that is great. I love that idea. Like going around the country and just seeing the world. If you ever come to DC and Maryland, let me know. I'm definitely down to do whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm going to be there, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, how you feeling?
What's that?
How you feeling right now?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be sitting here talking to you. So
appreciate that. One thing about this year has been a lot of craziness going on pretty much. A lot of things happening all at once. And I think the best thing is how to keep a positive mindset what's going on in 2020.
Yep.
Current mindset of what's going on pretty much right now.
It's hard to do, man.
Yeah, how you feeling about 2020?
You know, I'm feeling okay. I think there's good days and bad, you know. I try to stay positive and motivated through the things that I'm doing with Into the Dark Blue, and staying connected with the people who really support me and vice versa. You know, we have just really great support system with friends, family, and actually a lot of you guys on Instagram that I've met more recently, who are just really encouragers, you know, just really encouragers, and they want to see each other succeed. And that's really how I'm staying good on the bad days, you know.
That's a good point, because this year has been a year where you have to, I guess, find a way to keep a positive mindset, find a way to, I know me personally, what this year happened, especially when the pandemic first happened, was having all that free time. And
so much free time.
What am I going to do? And I'm like, okay, let's create something. And then that's how doing things right now to make amazing connections. So anyone that's listening, 2020 can still be a great year for you.
Yep.
2020 can still be a year where you create new ideas, whatever you decide to do. You can still follow your dreams. You can still do whatever you want. It's still going to be a positive year for you.
Absolutely.
Say, oh, it's a bad year. It's a bad year. We got to stop putting that in our mindset pretty much.
Yep.
I saw one post on Facebook. A guy was like, oh, man, if 2020 is bad, wait till next year. I'm like, why would you think like that?
Yeah. It's like, if 2020 is bad, let's make next year better. Like, what can we do to make next year better? Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about that. Just waking up and being able to tell yourself, like, today's going to be a good day. I'm going to make it good. Mm-hmm. You know, it's in our power to be able to have that perspective and basically do the best we can with what we've got.
Yeah, that's so true. Speaking of being the best we can with what we got, there's a lot of men like you and myself around the world who just tell them the story pretty much. Excuse me. A lot of men who are breaking the stigma that men can talk about certain issues as far as mental health. And
yep.
In your opinion, what's the importance of men speaking out about anything, pretty much expressing their feelings?
Oh man. You know, so much. There's so much to that. You know, unfortunately, we live in what's still a patriarchal society. And we need positive influence. We need the positive influence of guys speaking up and talking about the things that they're dealing with, speaking up and talking about the things that that need to change in this world, and being silent about our emotions, being silent about our struggles, being silent about the things that we feel like we should stand up for that are in the world. If we're not talking about those things, then that positive change isn't going to happen, because I mean, unfortunately, we still live in this world where change is driven by men, and they're it's, I mean, it's 49% of the population, right? And if we're not talking, then what's going to happen?
That's a good point because us as men, we have this stigma that if you speak out, you're weak.
Yeah,
Especially about your emotions. Like the word emotion doesn't mean you're weak. You're at the end of the day, you're human.
absolutely.
Express yourself to someone you trust, of course. You can't just go around and talking to people that you don't trust and they end up spreading your business out there. It's okay to express yourself. That's something that I'm learning too. Is to find your own voice pretty much. And this has been a great year for me. And I'm sure it's a great year for anyone else who's speaking out. It's okay to speak out for anyone that's listening.
Yep.
If you're whoever listening to this podcast and you're driving your car and you feel like, damn, no one understands me. And it's amazing how people feel like that.
Yeah.
No one can relate. You know, that feeling in the beginning, you're like, why am I the only one that thinks like this? You think
Yep.
like that when you're going through depression or you're going through a setback, pretty much. You know,
Yeah. It's like, I think part of the reason we feel alone is because we don't speak up,
free.
you know? And I find so often that a lot of guys can relate with the things that are going on in my life. If I just get the balls to get up and talk to them about it, you know, if I can get out there and talk to the people that I trust about what's going on in my life, a lot of people can relate to the things that we're dealing with. And um, quite frankly, the only reason we feel alone is because we choose to.
So true. That's so true because you realize like the more I tell my story, the more I realize other people share their story. I'm like, dang, this person is similar to me.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
person's been through what I've been through, and I'm sure it's somewhere there's somebody who's been through what we've been through, probably the exact same scenario and thinking like it's hopeless.
Yep.
And then like, oh man, if he can do it, I can do it. You know, that's a great feeling. And this goes to my next question, pretty much. In your past, have you ever faced like a negative struggle, whether it's depression, whether it's suicide, anything like negative in your past, you feel too free to express?
Oh yeah. You know, a few little things, and I talk about them here and there. So in my mid 20s, I was diagnosed with ADD.
Okay.
Um, and also a little bit before that, some mild depression.
Okay.
And so those things often tend to be connected. Um, and so growing up, I dealt with a lot of the repercussions of ADD without knowing what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when I went into middle school, school got really difficult for me because my focus switched from academics to social stuff, and so my focus in school was not as strong as it could have been, should have been, whatever you want to say, and so it just there were a lot of things that kind of could have been signs that I was dealing with this. Um, but it wasn't really overly diagnosed at the time. And ADD being that my brain, and I know they've changed the classification of that, the name of that recently, but basically I have a really active brain. And so where there's ADHD, where you're like outwardly active and hyperactive or whatever, but so for me it's internal. And so a lot of the things that are just like racing through my mind all the time, distracting me from what I'm doing or causing me to like work on something for 5 minutes and then work on something else for 5 minutes and then go over here and focus on this thing for like 2 hours because it's something that I love doing, and then back to the first thing that I was working on for another 10 minutes. And that's just how I function.
Yeah.
And that got me in a lot of trouble in the past with my ex-wife. I was constantly losing my keys, or I was constantly forgetting things that she asked me for at the store or things like that. And some of it's comical, but some of it like legitimately caused some problems in my relationship. And so I had to work through basically some habits. I had to create some habits in my life that got rid of those kind of daily struggles,
Okay.
you know?
Hmm.
But along with that comes like I have I'm a creative, and so I like art, I like music, I like all of those things, and along with that comes a little bit of depression and looking at things very deeply in life that can just really affect your soul, and kind of drag you down. And so yeah, so over the years just kind of dealing with that and trying to deal with that through writing poetry and playing drums and things like that. And so just having to find outlets to deal with some of the difficult things and difficult thoughts that are regularly going on in my brain. And so that comes to 2020 and seeing our world fall apart in so many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
And trying to not get so wrapped up in the chaos that I kind of sink and draw myself away from the things that I'm making a positive difference with in the world.
I agree with that 1,000% because it's like I'm very similar to that situation.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, like yeah, doing this one out, man, that's so me, and that's me now.
Yeah.
The way you broke that down, it's like that explains a lot. It's like if
Yep.
something that's interesting towards me, I'm gonna spend all my 2 hours on this.
Yep.
It's like if something's like I'll give that 5 minutes, whatever. But it's
Right.
like
Even though it should be a higher priority and should get
yeah,
done first.
agreed. Like priority, but this is catching my interest, and
Yep.
that's how I feel like about 2020. It's like oh, I want to do this, but maybe I start a podcast. Let me just try to do this over here.
Yep.
And you never know. Like even when you said speaking on the outlet, like find those outlets that bring you the happiness. As far as like your music, like doing music and all that type of stuff, and whatever the case may be. Mine was going to the gym, my outlet,
Yeah.
just getting those negative thoughts in my mind, pretty much.
Hmm.
Did that help you progress like negative thoughts and how to pivot with those outlets, pretty much?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think similar for me with working out too. Like when I am consistently working out, it's something that does help clear my mind. Doing that physical work and like focusing on that for a little while really helps to clear and process some of the things and kind of put them all in line rather than all of these thoughts being everywhere and not being able to make sense of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, like working out, which I admire your consistency in, by the way. It's something that I struggle with so much because I love working out, but I have an aversion to it some days where I'm just like, that is the last thing I want to do.
I got you. Never this thing, I got you.
But yeah, man. So that definitely helps to kind of round everything up and get it all figured out.
Yeah, I agree. Just having those moments, because a lot of times, even in life, you have those moments where like sometimes your old thoughts will come in sometimes, and staying active, even not even a physical active, but staying active is something you do love doing because you love doing it. It brings you comfort, brings
Mhm.
you joy, and I feel like it brings you more confidence.
Absolutely.
Like for like you just starting the podcast, I'm sure episode one you can relate to this. You're like, oh, I don't know, I could have done that better. And you're like, wait a minute, doing pretty good at this.
Right. Making it happen.
Yeah, you're making it happen. Like what,
Yep.
very well. So it's just having those moments, and you know what, I gotta constantly keep going, pretty much, and I do agree with what you said about as far as like limit certain things on social media,
Mm-hmm.
news, because you look at the news, you be like, oh my gosh, this, that, no, we don't want to do it. It'll drive you freaking nuts.
Oh yeah, seriously, especially with all the varying opinions and like people we love saying things that we hate hearing them say, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's like it's kind of rough.
yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, it's just for me, this has been a year of making sure that I am active about taking care of myself. Um, growing up, that was one of the things I think uh, I'm a bit of or not anymore, but I used to be a bit of a people pleaser, and I always wanted I always wanted to keep everybody happy. I didn't want to hurt feelings, and I didn't want to do or say something that was going to upset this person over here or whatever. And so it was constant stress dealing and worrying about whether or not I was doing all the right stuff, you know. Um, and over the last 6 years of my life, I've been really focusing on making sure that I work on myself. And a big part of that this year has been taking care of myself and not putting myself on the line and my own wellness on the line for somebody else's. And so that I think is the biggest thing during this year is to take that time to yourself and step away and don't worry about what others think of you and whether you're making them happy or not, but take care of yourself so you can better take care of others.
That is so true. You gotta have those self care moments. And
Yeah.
you get busy, you get tired. Like last week, I was burnt out. I was like, I'm just taking a break.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta have those moments you can bounce back faster because if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not loving yourself the right way, that affects everything you do.
Yep.
That affects like even like your business wise stuff like the energy you put out to. So you're doing it and you've been exhausted, so it doesn't feel fun anymore. And then you expect the relationship we have with your loved ones and all that. So I commend you on just taking care of yourself. That's very important. For anyone that's listening, have them self care moments. Whatever you like to do, whether it's working out, getting your hair cut, looking nice, got the little shape up and the beard going, whatever the
Fresh.
case is, listen to music, have them self care moments, have them self love moments. Very important.
Yep. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, that goes to my next question. To you, how important is self love to you?
Clearly very important. Um, it's kind of it's been interesting actually these last couple months because I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, Jay Moreno, actually from Masculinity Mastered. We were talking about just I don't know this whole basically about social media, Instagram, all that kind of stuff, and um, we started talking about authenticity and the importance of being yourself in whatever you're doing, right? Um, and so it was just a really enlightening conversation, just really open dialogue kind of thing. And from that day on, I made a huge shift in my perspective and the way I look at the things and what I'm doing, and the importance of making sure that I am fully myself in what I'm doing. And the best way to be fully myself is to do those things that I love. So I can be inspired, so I can like fuel my passions, and if we're not fueling those passions, doing the things that we love, it's really difficult to find true, honest inspiration that's really going to help make a positive impact in the people that we're working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that. Again, this goes back to when the year first started. I started a whole new Instagram, and something told me to start over. And the other one had like 3,000 followers, but it didn't mean anything to me because it was like I wasn't being myself.
Mm.
I was mostly worried about I shouldn't say. You know how like you covering yourself, you thinking like I shouldn't post this, and
Yep.
I don't know, man. And I
Somebody's gonna
like,
get upset.
yeah, you like think somebody might get upset, and I was like, so, and it's like somebody might get upset, and I was like, you know what? this year I'm going to learn to be me.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome, man.
I feel what you're saying like 1,000%. And I feel like a lot of people can just get inspired by that. This person has been they're not been fake. They're not faking their happiness. They're being me. So
Hmm.
anything I'm doing, I want to be me. Anything injury I attach to, I gotta be me. So I agree
Yep.
with that 1,000%. If anyone's listening, learn to be the authentic you no matter what. There are some people that's not going to agree with how you react, how you move, and that's okay. You
Yep.
learn to be you. You may start
Absolutely.
a podcast or something, or whatever the case may be, a clothing brand, whatever. Some people might not like it, and that's okay. It means it's not for them.
Right. One of my favorite quotes that I've heard over the years is I was actually, so I was a youth minister years ago.
Okay.
And while I was doing youth ministry, somebody said to me at some point, I don't remember who or where or when or whatever, but I remember the quote. And the quote is, if you're making everybody happy, you're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's so much truth in that, though. And I think people just connect so much more to somebody who isn't afraid to be who they are. Um, as I mentioned before, I'm real big into poetry and creative writing, things like that. And my favorite book to this day it's called Naked Lunch by William Burroughs,
Okay.
and it's he was a beat writer in the 50s, and he wrote this book. Basically, it's a 200-page LSD trip. But the writing in that book is the first thing that taught me that I can write what I need to write without worrying about what others are going to think about it. Because there was so much truth and honesty in that book. And even though it was raw and hard to swallow at times, some of the things that he was talking about are just gritty and true and all of those things. But I came away from reading that book feeling so much more empowered to be authentic and to be who I truly am in my writing. And over the years, that has translated more and more into my life.
I can see that the way you do certain things with your podcast and just the way the person you are. I feel like you're being the authentic you, and which reason why our energies connect so well. Even when you interview me, it's just like he reminds me of me certain things. So a
Nice.
lot of things you're saying, I'm like, this sounds like me. It's like mirror image, pretty much. So I
Yeah,
can
man.
relate.
Totally.
Yeah. So I just commend you on just being the authentic you, and I love what you're doing, and you're amazing. Keep it up, bro. For real.
That's good. Likewise.
Yeah. So let's go to my next question, pretty much. If you can go back to you in the past when you were going through certain issues, as far as like self doubt or anything like that, what would you say to yourself? This is you now,
Hmm.
the old you.
Oh man, that's a good question. Um, I think to tell my old self anything, um, I think the first thing I would tell myself is stop taking things so seriously. That was a big thing for me. I've always been a bit more on the serious side and like I said, more like thinking very deeply about things. And so it takes me in a very serious direction a lot of the time. And so I think if I had been able to tell myself that when I was younger, I would have experienced some of the things that um, I think are more common to experience for younger people, and just making some of the mistakes that I think people need to make when they're young to learn. And so it's I avoided a lot of things when I was younger, in terms of like holding true to disciplines. Even in my teens, I was like really kind of strict about drugs and sex and just I don't know, just doing stupid shit. And I wish I would have done some of that stupid shit when I was younger and not taken everything so
Oh,
like seriously. Yeah, so
I get it. That's a good point because I guess those have those experiences in life. in your early years, pretty much, instead of experiencing them late. Is that what you're saying? That makes
Yeah,
sure I'm getting it right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yep.
Understood. Yeah, have those moments like, you know what? I'm glad I did that. Like this taught me this, and now
Exactly.
even despite of you not doing certain things, look where you're at now. It's
Yeah, true. I
great.
mean, yeah, everybody's story gets them to where they're, where they're at and where they're going. And that's a good point. It's like, I think having regrets about those things can just kind of hold us back.
hmm Agreed. I had those moments too where it's like I should have played this kind of sport back in the day. And for me, it was like having no self doubts, like, you ain't good enough. I'm like, if I had, I feel like if I had this confidence when I was a kid, Jesus, man,
The places I could have gone.
right? You thinking like I was tripping up with that person? Think really?
Right,
Like,
right.
come on, man. But it's like, all right, simple. Maybe it wasn't my time. It's okay.
Right, right. Well, and again, too, look where you're at now. The lessons you learned from having to push through those difficult times and push through the lack of confidence and all of those things. Like, it's part of our stories now, right?
Yeah.
It's part of what brought us where we're at now and having this conversation. Um, and so, quite honestly, if a lot of the things in my life hadn't happened the way they did, I likely would not be sitting here talking to you right now. So.
That's a great way to look at that. Like if I didn't go through depression, I didn't go through all this, and I wouldn't be telling my story. I wouldn't do a podcast. I wouldn't even, you know, sometimes we do things and thinking being too hard on ourselves. It takes that one person to be like, yo, man, I like interviewing so and so, man, that saved my life. You're like, what? Okay, let me keep doing this.
Yep, exactly,
Instead of
man.
getting, as a creator, if anyone's listening, if you're starting a podcast, starting whatever the case may be, and you're worried about likes, you're worried about, oh, this person ain't gonna like it, don't worry about that. Worry about your purpose.
Yep,
Whatever you decide to do, any field, as long as you have a purpose and a driven and a drive, some people wake up and don't even have that. But all
exactly.
the fact, even if you're on episode one and getting ready to create something, keep going. And that's something I had told myself, and I got inspired by so many guys, and especially guys like you doing what you're doing. I'm like, okay, I think I can do this.
Nice.
Yeah,
Appreciate that, man.
yeah,
Yeah, same here. And I think that's what the community is all about, is inspiring each other, and continuing to do so. And when one of us is going through a rough time, it's like being there for each other is such a big, important thing, man. Um, and so, some of you guys are there in times that you don't even realize, days when I wake up and I'm just like, fuck all, like, I don't want to do this. And, I get on and look at Instagram and I see you talking about something that just like really picks me up, and that's, it's been pretty interesting how this like virtual community has been such a big part of my life over the last year.
great.
But I'm absolutely grateful for it, and all of you guys who push through and make it happen, and find value in their self-worth.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing. Like that whole community that has been created just off a pandemic. Like, wow, this is
Yep,
it makes you see the world different. I'm like,
it really does. Yeah, all that negativity that we see all the time, like you were talking about earlier, like the negativity that we see in social media and all of that, we get to see the positive side on a regular basis. And I think it's so important that we look for that because, when I was doing youth ministry, one of the biggest things that I noticed was there's so much attention to the negative things,
great.
but there are so many people in this world doing positive things. And if we seek them out, which unfortunately we have to do, we have to seek them out because they're not just there.
Mhm.
Because people love negative news. It's that morbid curiosity, right? People thrive on that. And if we set forward and actually seek out the positive things, life can change so drastically for the better.
Agree. It's that because it's so easy to go to the negative realm. It's so easy to get up in the morning and check your social media, check what that person said, what that person said. This person's not. That person gets sick.
Right.
It's so much, and it's only been 9 months in the year. It's so much going on, but it's like let's try to flip it, something positive.
Right.
That person
Absolutely, man.
recovered. That person recovered. Personally, my aunt has COVID and she's recovering.
Mm.
So it makes me look at life differently. You know what I'm saying? Because when it hits home, it's like the media will tell you one thing, push
Oh
up,
yeah.
like keep your eyes on God. And God's like, I got y'all. Don't trip off that.
Yep.
That's not your concern. They're like, but about didn't I just tell you don't worry about that?
Just calm down.
That's what it feels like. Just calm down. I know what it looks like, but the unfortunate part is like the world has been in a negative situation. It's just for some reason 2020 is heightened. Unfortunately, people have been getting sick and all this, but we have to keep going regardless.
Oh yeah.
This month
Yep.
of you have to keep going. You know.
Yep. And man, so I keep calling my thing for 2020 has been the year of clarity. I'm calling it the year of clarity. And 2020 vision, right?
Oh
So yeah. So I've been calling it the year of clarity, and it's not quite what I was expecting when I started calling it that. But I do feel, though, at the same time that there is a lot of clarity that's coming forth in these things that are happening in our world right now. We're starting to see a lot of clarity on where we're divided as a nation, the things that we value, the things that we should value, that we don't value. Just so many things on different levels that are providing clarity, and we just have to be willing to see it. We have to be willing to make the changes to be clear. You know what I mean? And so that's it, been a really unexpected change in perspective on the whole thing, but I'm definitely grateful to see a lot of the things happening that are happening right now in our world. Even though a lot of them seem so negative right now, looking long term into the future of who we are, there's so much possibility, there's so much potential to take positive things from the negative stuff that's happening right now.
I feel like there's a silver lining to every situation, pretty much. There's a silver lining in 2020. If we look at what we don't like every day, we get up in the morning, me and my fiance, we pray every single day. There's not a day we don't pray, and there's not a day we say we pray, we do affirmations, and we have a gratitude list.
That's awesome. I love that.
Even if like things may look a certain way, for example, let's just give you an example. Like let's say rent is not paid until whatever. Well, thank God for food. Thank God for something.
Mm-hmm.
If you get like list 10 lists of things you are grateful for, even 5, you got that. The fact that you're still alive, I'm like, I'm alive. I got a job to go to,
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, like I ain't got no car, but hey, I got money for Uber.
True story.
I agree with that 100%. Having that clarity, having that switch to something positive, something negative. It's so easy to go something negative. It's so easy. I'm learning to like, you know what?
Got time for that?
Yeah, ain't got time for that. I'll watch something make me laugh.
You watch what?
I watch something make me laugh on YouTube or something like that. And just hysterically laugh. Like I need a good laugh.
Absolutely. I think that's. I watch a lot of stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy, and so like that's. I would say probably every day, every other day, I watch a little bit of stand-up comedy at least, just to get that more like lighthearted perspective on things, and just kind of keep that frame of mind. So
I agree. That's a good point, because if not, you'd be like here all day,
just angry.
Who wants to do that? That's too much. Like
stressful, man, for everybody.
It's just stressful, man. And this goes to my by the way, great conversation, pretty much. This goes to my next question. I always ask this to anybody when I'm interviewing, pretty much, because the morning is what starts your day.
What starts my day?
The morning. We get up in the morning.
Okay.
What starts your day, pretty much. And it sets the standard of how your day going to go. So my question for you is, what motivates you?
All right. So, you know, probably over the last year and a half, I've been trying really hard to like get in a routine because I suck at routine. Like I'm not good at it. So I've been trying to practice routine. And over the last surprisingly 8 months, go figure the correlation there. Um, but the I've been getting better at routine and waking up and drinking a glass of water, drinking coffee, drinking a little bit of kombucha for the, the gut, for the body, having a light breakfast, and just easing into my day. And that's made a huge difference. Not getting on social media right when I wake up, and just in, enjoying some quiet space to get my head right before I start my day. Making my bed, that's a big one. I mean, I don't always do it. It's unmade right now. Uh, but most days I wake up and do all that and make my bed, and then I start getting things going. Because it's just that one small accomplishment that starts a string of them throughout the day.
That's a great thing. It's create those small routines day by day. Do it, you'll get better at it, better at it. Just having a great start, pretty much. And again, I appreciate you for a great conversation. This was truly amazing. Uh, Appreciate you for coming on. Before we go, wrap it up. Tell the audience where to find you for our social media, for what you got going on one more time.
Yeah, sure. So on Instagram, you can find us at into the underscore dark blue. All of our links are there in our link tree. You can go to our website to listen to our podcast, look at the blog that's written by other guys about their life stories. We have a fundraiser going right now, which is really important for what we're doing. We're working with the Movember Foundation and Sheath Underwear for this tour that we're about to do. And so we're in the process of trying to raise a little bit of money to do the tour, and also to film a documentary that we're doing about the state of mental health care in the US. So all of the money that gets donated through the fundraiser, or to buy our shirts through Sheath, we have pint glasses, and then we have our shirts as well right here.
Love it.
Yep. And Sheath is amazing. They're an underwear company that we've been working with since the beginning of all this. And they are kind enough to donate all of the proceeds for these things to our mission to get out there and create this network of men's groups, as well as donating to the Movember Foundation, that to help mental health initiatives around the world. So that link is in our link tree as well. And then you can also find all that at intothedarkblue.com. And yeah, pretty easy to find us. So
Love it. Love it. I love everything you're doing, bro. Appreciate this great conversation. For anyone that's listening, um, Walk in Purpose podcast is every Sunday on Spotify, pretty much all the major platforms. We have a visual version of the podcast on YouTube also. We also have Walk in Purpose Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, you're going to get a guy speaking on motivation, pretty much. Just motivating yourself, and any guy who wants to come on and just get a perspective on Walk in Purpose Wednesdays, feel free to DM me. Pretty much saying thank you so much, brother.
yeah.